Although I've said this at least a dozen times before, I decided to put it into just one video so that you may access it and briefly. The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is not an interventionist God. He intervenes only when he feels like it. Your prayers, especially these endless, vain, selfish prayers, I hear all day from Christians and Muslims, especially prayers for evil. You can imagine what some of the Muslims say and petition for. That's what prayer means. I know I have to use that term all the time in my legal writings. I pray that this honorable court. It means a petition, a pleading, and it's supposed to include praise, but literally its Hebrew equivalent actually means a lot to do with self-evaluation and praise. Speaking about one's own sinful behavior, focusing on oneself and how to better one's. My point has been made. I've made it 1,000 times now in person to Christians who keep wanting to pray over me, who want to pray for me for stuff that I know is not going to happen. I'll repeat again, in Isaiah 45:7, God, like a good father, admits that he created this dichotomy of good and evil to test all those blank souls so that they may choose on their own the path of good or evil. And you Christians and you Muslims sit there and you talk to God through your idols, plural, Jesus and Muhammad. That right there is a violation of the first commandment. And you keep endlessly petitioning for every little pimple that you get, every little thing. That falls under the 7 deadly sins of avarice, your greed, your vanity, You think you're really that important? I'm going to conclude with this because I want to make it available as a short. God's not going to intervene on everything. If God intervened for every prayer, there would be no free will. There would be no evil. Am I making myself clear at all? Am I getting through to you at all? God's not going to answer your every prayer. God doesn't answer every prayer. He can't. It destroys his creation of free will. You're insane if you think that your Jesus or your Muhammad is going to answer every prayer because you addressed your prayer to the wrong entity. Number one, thou shalt have no other gods before me. Rule number one, you created these Trinitarian kind of concepts, which are completely goes against the Jewish understanding of God's laws. And that's I want to remind you, that's all that we were chosen to, was to bring you God's laws to a bunch of people who had a caveman mentality and no morality whatsoever. Nothing was illegal. Murder, rape, nothing was illegal before we Jews. There was no code for moral conduct. But God is not going to answer. Endlessly petitioning God, praying to God for vanity, purely vain reasons. I'm willing to accept my fate as I am now. They're not going to fix me. Stop praying for me. There is no need for it. God is not going to intervene for me, especially if you're addressing him under your idol's name of Jesus or Muhammad. There's no need to pray for an old Jew who knows that this is going to be my fate for the rest of my life. I'm going to have a gimpy left arm. That's it. Unless I hit the lottery or something, and I don't really. For the one time here in this whole year that I laid down buck on the lottery, God didn't answer my prayer, but that night He stilled the wind. Get it through your thick heads. God is not an interventionist God. You can pray all you want for your vanity, for evil to go away. It's not going to go away. The test of souls must continue. Think about it. Please think about what I've said. If God answered your every prayer, there would be no more free will. There would be no bad to make good, have a taste good in your mouth. Bad taste, garlic, pepper. Good taste, sugar. Am I getting through to you at all? Am I making myself clear? The Lord of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is not an interventionist God. And your endless weeping and wailing and your 5 calls to prayer every day is pretty much a waste of God's time listening to them, because He can't, and sometimes just absolutely will not, intervene. It destroys free will. Don't you get it? Haven't you figured that out yet? I figured that out long before I got to be this ripe old age. El Shaddai, the Almighty, who can do anything, is not going to intercede for you, especially when He hears you using somebody else's name when He has no name. Jesus and Muhammad is not His name. Okay? I think we're done now.